Another tier list for an updated trade rumours, but on a needs basis for Collingwood. I've cut through all the noise and we're going to look at some of the players that are available to Collingwood potentially through this trade period. And we're going to try and make the best decision for Collingwood if we are wanting to find something in the draft while also getting some work done on a trade period. We're going to find that balance rather than going for the big fishes in this market. So we'll start with, you can see the tiers here. We've got 3am, not ideal, decent, and ideal. So as we go along here, I'll explain. They're pretty self-explanatory, but we'll go through it as we go through. But let's start with Tom Lynch. I'm going to put Tom Lynch in the 3am category for Collingwood as far as the needs basis that we've spoken about. 3am, you're at a nightclub and there's not a lot left on the dance floor and you've got to take what you've got left available to you. That is Tom Lynch. I say this not because of his ability. I don't say this because we know he's a great player. I don't say this because he's injury prone. It's the fact that we would still need to trade for someone like Tom Lynch. He is a restricted free agent. Let me just double check here. Sorry, no, he's still contracted till next year. So we'd have to give something up for someone like Tom Lynch. And I can't imagine Richmond giving him away for peanuts. Plus his contract as well. That's a concern of mine. So I don't necessarily want that key tool, that number one key tool. I don't think we're lacking that right now with the form that we saw McStay play with in the last few games of the year. I think if Dan McStay can uphold those standards, he has to be the guy next year for Collingwood. He is him. He needs to be the man. So Tom Lynch, let's steer clear of him. And then not ideal. I'm going to put Tomlinson there, right? Collingwood need a key defender. And I should note that Mark Keane has verbally agreed to committing to Adelaide. Sam Berry, another midfielder from Adelaide, has signed on. Petrarca's come out and said, no, I'm staying with Melbourne. Josh Battle is going to Hawthorn. Barras is also going to Hawthorn. So the key defender stocks in a trade window have significantly been depleted after those announcements. Tomlinson is an unrestricted free agent. So I would put him in 3am, but the fact that he's played some decent footy this year, he's been on the park for the D's, he could be just that grindy player that can help Darcy more. And if he's only going to cost us a contract, I can't see Tomlinson being worth any more than 400, 450 a year at this point of his career. And I don't know much about him personally, what his preferences are, where he wants to go, is he happy, etc., etc. Do the D's want to try and sign him on? I'm not too sure, but he's something worth Collingwood's consideration in this trade window, just on the basis that he's not going to cost us any picks. And as I said at the start of the video, we want to reserve some picks so that we can dip into this draft. And we'll talk about some trade hypotheticals as well to further speak to what we can hopefully achieve in the draft window, in the draft as well. All right, let's look at decent. Who is a decent in my eyes? Let's go Laverde. Laverde is decent for me. He's another player who is still not out of contract. He's listed or under contract for Essendon until the end of next year. So Collingwood would need to trade for him. He's 28. He's had a reasonable season. Ben Mackay being his main guy, and then he's sort of been the right-hand man doing all the dirty work for Ben Mackay. He's reliable, proven. You could argue, is he ideal? Maybe I put him here. I'm just thinking, who else is there in this market to get to assist Darcy Moore next year? Because that's our biggest problem, without a doubt. I'm thinking Nathan Kruger will look internally at the club, but it doesn't seem like they're going to go that way. And he hasn't received a contract yet. So I'm concerned as to whether we will be seeing Nathan Kruger in a Collingwood jumper next year. I just want to see what is his contract started. Nathan Kruger, non-free agent, so they would need a trade for him. So there are also rumours that Nathan Kruger could be going to Essendon with teaming up with the players in their forward line like Nate Caddy and Kyle Langford. And with Peter Wright out of favour, not playing the best footy, there's an opportunity for Kruger to be a project player at the Bombers. So if that's the case, I would like to see Laverde potentially for a straight swap for Nathan Kruger. I'm not sure about the trade value of both players going both ways. I'd say you could make the case that they're equal value just because Kruger's a little bit younger and is probably more needed at a club like Essendon where they've struggled in the forward line to have some consistent performers in that forward 50. So I think Laverde for now is ideal for the Pies. He's not super old, he's consistent, stays on the field and can do all the dirty work for someone like Darcy Moore. My next one, staying on the defender conversation, is Denver Granger Barras. And he would be a project player for Collingwood, not because he's not a rookie player. He's not someone coming from a different sporting background. He was a top 10 pick in his draft year or somewhere around the mark. So he's definitely got the potential. He's been touted as an elite junior coming into the AFL. He's nursing an ACL at the moment. You look at Josh Battle coming to Hawthorn, Tom Barras, James Sicily's there, Jack Frost is playing good footy for the Hawks. Granger Barras probably doesn't see any room in there to put his best foot forward next year. So I feel like opportunity-wise, it would be a good business decision and career decision for Granger Barras to look elsewhere. Let's see what his status. He'd be a non-free agent, wouldn't he? Or somewhere around the marks. Granger Barras, yeah, non-free agent. So we would trade for him. And what I'm thinking with Granger Barras is if we trade Joe Richards to Port for hopefully pick 37, then maybe we can package that pick 37 and send that off to Hawthorn to acquire someone like Granger Barras. And while I put him in decent, something about this player here entices me more than Laverde. I think there's a lot more potential here, and I don't think I think he's old enough to hold his own at AFL level if he can find some form. So he's my go-to, but I still keep Laverde here because I feel like that's where most of the Pies footy army would keep Laverde and keep Granger Barras. So that's the logistics there. Let's get Alex Davies. Let's talk about midfielders. I'm probably going to put Alex Davies in ideal. Another player who's out of favour at Gold Coast. Broke his leg a couple of years ago. Big-bodied, 6'3", 6'4" midfielder, really strong, great in the contest, has a lot of potential. We could probably get him for peanuts and maybe get him packaged in that trade for Noble. So we send Noble to Gold Coast and we get Alex Davies and either pick 20 or pick 26, something along those lines, and inject some speed into our midfield. And just on the conversation, these younger players in that 20 to 24 bracket, Alex Davies and Granger Barras fit that bracket. So we're bringing our age list down and in an age bracket where we're quite short on, outside of Isaac Quaynor, Will Parker, Reeve McGuinness, all those sort of players, it's quite bleak. So I think just bolstering those stocks in that bracket would be important for Collingwood in the long term, okay? So we get Alex Davies, and now we have pick 20 from John Noble, which we can use to move up in the draft this year because it's quite a deep draft. So then we're looking at, we've got pick 20 and pick 32 and 48 and 50 as well. So it's not as bad as it first was going into this trade period. So there's a bit of optimism. We've locked in players like Laverde and Davies, maybe Granger Barras, and bring in some ready-made players like I said, Laverde, and then we've got the conversations revolving around Tomlinson and Mr. 3am. We don't want him, so we'll leave him there. The next one, who I'm going to put in not ideal, Jake Stringer, he kicked 40 goals this year. I understand that, respect that. He's an explosive, he's must-see footy, but I don't want a lesser Jordan De Goey in our team. I think Jordan De Goey offers more on the midfield front relative to Jake Stringer, and Jake Stringer's got better forward craft, one-on-one forward craft than De Goey. But in saying that, De Goey has ways of finding the goals himself. Does he have a 40-goal season in him? De Goey is being close. I think he's kicked 30, 35 odd back in 2018, I think it was. So, plus, once again, Stringer is he's still got a year on his contract from memory. I'll just check here. Jake Stringer is not here. So he's a non-free agent. So he's someone we have to trade for once again. The question is, what is he worth? What will Essendon give up for someone like Jake Stringer? I have no idea. I imagine a second rounder. I don't know. I don't think Essendon are going to let him go for that. Just that. How old is Jake Stringer? Jake Stringer. 30 years old. What are you giving up for Jake Stringer if you are any other club? And then you get over the hurdle of finding the right trade for him when it comes to picks. And then you ask, well, how much does Jake Stringer want? Like, this guy kicked 40 goals in 2024. So what's he worth? And I don't think Collingwood should be willing to open up their wallet and pay anything more than 500 grand. So I'm going to keep him in not ideal, steer away from him for now. The next one we can look at here that is not ideal is Peter Wright, and then let's check his status. He is still under contract. So you can see the trend I'm going for here. Any player that's still under contract and is worth some money, we know with Peter Wright, a key tall forward, you're always going to have to pay overs for him to get into your club, plus giving up a pick, plus he's out of form. I mean, if we look at his 2024 career or season, let's go Peter Wright. How's he going? So in 2024, he played 14 games and he's only kicked 19 goals. So look, 19 and 19 in the last two seasons, whereas he kicked 53. He had a hot season. Maybe not, because he doesn't have that consistent form in his seasons. And like I said, we're probably giving up too much as far as the trade and the salary cap is concerned. So we'll steer clear from him. Let's move to Dan Houston. Realistically, I'm going to put Houston in not ideal, just because it defeats the purpose of what I now want as a fan. And like I said, I want us to indulge in unrestricted free agency, players who are out of favour that have potential, like Granger Barras and Alex Davies, and then someone like Laverde, although not unrestricted, he'd come along to the club for not a large amount of money coming out of our salary cap, I would imagine. Dan Houston is quite the opposite. We're going to have to give up picks on picks. I think our most realistic trade for someone like Houston is we'd have to give away John Noble, pick 32, Joe Richards, and a future first. And I think that's too much for one player. And with Dan Houston being 27, 28 years old, it's just going to accelerate the fall off once Collingwood's premiership window is closed, essentially. Whereas if we go down this route of the 20 to 24 year olds and bibs and bobs of older players here and there, I think it's going to be more sustainable for Collingwood in the long run. Okay, so he's in not ideal. Peatling is decent. I think he is more established than Alex Davies, and GWS aren't the easiest to work with when it comes to trading in certain situations. With Bobby Hill, I would say we got him for unders. I think we traded away a late second rounder for someone like Bobby Hill, so that's a different conversation. But Peatling is decent. I just don't know how much we'd have to give up for Peatling on the trade table. It's probably a second rounder, and maybe 500k for someone like Peatling. I'm only reserving 3 spots for ideal, so I'm going to keep him here. and he is young as well, falls in that category. He's a big body midfielder, much like Alex Davies, but I think I I like the idea of a project player in Alex Davies to inject the youth and speed into our midfield. And then lastly, guys, I'm putting Tim Membry in ideal unrestricted free agent. Probably won't cost a whole lot coming to Collingwood. Would play perfectly as that third key tall forward behind Myercheck and McStay. We've lacked in that third key tall forward department. Reef McInnes hasn't worked out, and neither has Ash Johnson. And Nathan Kruger seems like, it seems like he's out of favour at the Collingwood Football Club. I'm going to call it what it is. And then he's a working class man, Tim Membry, and I think he will do bits for the club. And look, the argument is, well, we've got quite a deep, small to medium sized forward department. What does that mean for selection? I mean, you got three tall forwards in Membry, Myercheck, and McStay. That's already three of your forward six. And then you're battling out with Jamie Elliott, Bobby Hill, Lockie Schultz, Bo McCreary, and maybe Joe Richards if he still remains at the Collingwood Football Club. So there's going to be competition, and I think that can only mean good things for the club. But yeah, let's revisit this. So I'm happy. You know what? I'm putting Granger Brass there. So let's talk about this logistically. We give away Kruger, a straight swap for Laverde potentially. If not, maybe we send them a future third or something like that to really sweeten up the deal. Alex Davies could be a second rounder, a future second rounder. Maybe we give away pick 48. Is 48 a second rounder? It's not. It's a third rounder, I'm pretty sure. Let's double check. 38. Let's look at the club picks. We've got 48 and 50. Maybe we give away, I think we were saying pick 37 is for Granger Brass if we were to trade Joe Richards to Port Adelaide. And that's right, Alex Davies was going to come to Collingwood by way of John Noble, and we would get Alex Davies and hopefully pick 26, and then, like I said, sending a future third. Denver Granger Brass, pick 37 if we send Joe Richards, and Tim Membry, unrestricted free agent, probably won't cost us a whole lot. Wants success, he's nearing on 30, if not older. Let's double check. 30 years old, so I think it's a perfect fit for Collingwood in the short term, keeps us in that premiership window. And then Peatling, okay, decent, and then not ideal, and missed the 3am. So let me know what you guys think. I wanted to cover some players who are more realistic and probably better suited for Collingwood's situation and environment right now. Leave your thoughts in the comment section. Go Pies.